What's up guys, Reese here from reese3d.com. In this video we are going to create a robot in Maya. Just like how we create other objects, we are going to create using a polygonal primitive. So right here we have our polygon shelf, and there you will find cube. You can either click on this cube to create a cube, or we can go to create menu, polygon primitives, and choose cube. Now some students make a mistake of going into NURBS primitives, and even NURBS has a cube, so make sure that you choose polygon primitives and choose the polygon cube, which is in orange color, not the blue one. Alright, so let's create the cube, and we have a cube here right in our scene. If you're totally new to Maya, I'll just show you the basic movements that we can have in our viewport. So if I press the Alt key and click with the left mouse button, I can orbit the view. Okay, and if I click the Alt key and use the right mouse button, I will be able to zoom in and zoom out. And if I use the Alt key and middle mouse button, I will be able to pan around. If I have just got too much zoomed in and I want to see something next to it, I can use this panning around. Alright, so now let's start creating the robot. So this could act as the main body of the robot, and it's basically cubicle shape. So I'm just going to pull this up just to give a little space here to create the legs later. Now once I have the body in position, I can actually create the head as well, because the head is also going to be like a cube. So I'm going to go to edit and choose duplicate. So you can also use the shortcut key Control D to create the duplicate. Now you can see that there's something changed here. It actually changed from p cube 1 to p cube 2, which means we have a second cube placed on the same location. Now making sure that you have the move tool selected, which should show us these arrows. Now if it doesn't show, probably that means like you are in a selection tool here. So let's move to move tool, and we can just click on this top arrow just to pull it up. So we can see that we have two cubes here. Now this head cube, I'm just going to make it a bit smaller. Okay, so I can make it smaller either by using the scale tool and clicking right in the middle, just making it smaller, or I can give a manual value right here in all these three different axes for scale. So scale X, scale Y, and scale Z. I'm just going to click and drag on all these three and enter 0.6 for example, and press enter. What is going to happen is all these three values are going to be updated to whatever number that I typed in there. Alright, so that looks good. That's the size of the head, and I'm just going to zoom in here. Alright, so I think that's too much of gap between the head and the body, so I'm just going to pull this down a bit. Alright, so let's get the basic shape of the robot, and then we can build details on it later. Okay, so I think the width of the body is fine, but probably I can make it a bit more thinner. So I'll use the scale tool. This time, instead of scaling from the center, which is actually going to scale in all the axes, I'm just going to click on this red, which stands for x-axis. So I will be able to scale it just in that one axis. That looks good. I think it's a little smaller than the head. That's fine. If I want, I can even make it more smaller. That's perfect. Alright, so now I can build the neck here. Okay, and based on that same neck, I can also build the hands and legs and stuff. Alright, so to create the neck, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cylinder here. So I can go to polygon primitives here and click cylinder, or I can go to create polygon primitives and cylinder as well. So probably sometimes, generally what I do is I actually keep this shelf hidden, because it just gives me a little bit extra space to work with. So I can go to window and choose UI elements, and I can turn off the shelf, so that gives me a little bit extra space. So if you don't see your shelf, don't worry, you can go to create and choose polygon primitives and create cylinder. So the cylinder comes out and it's too big, so I'm gonna make it smaller. So I'm gonna click in the middle and just make it smaller like so, right? So we need a certain amount of height, so I'll just keep it something like that. Alright, now I'm just gonna pull this up just to place it below the head and the body. Okay, so I think that height is fine for the neck, so I should make it even smaller. Alright, now at this point I'm just going to turn on my wireframe mode by pressing the 4 key in the keyboard, or I can also click on this little guy, which is going to do the same job, right? So it needs to be a little bit bigger. So what I'll do is I'll actually go to my front view or my side view. So my side is actually acting as a front view for this character. I'm just gonna pull this up slightly, and I'll make it a bit taller as well, just to cover up that entire space. Alright, so now I'm gonna press 4 one more time just to see the wireframe there. Okay, so I want to add some divisions here, so I'll go to polygon cylinder here, and I can choose the height divisions. Where's the height division? There it is. So divisions height, so I'm going to give something like let's say 24. That's too much. Okay, so let's make it 16, I guess. I think that's probably fine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to create something like a spring kind of appearance. Okay, so I'm going to go to edge tool. Okay, so I'm going to double click on this. Okay, so that selects the entire edge loop. All right, hold the shift key and then double click on this, hold the shift key and double click on this, hold the shift key, double click on this, hold the shift key, double click on this, double click on this, double click on this. Okay, so now I have just simply selected the alternate edges here. Now when I scale this, watch what happens. It just goes out like this. I want it to come out to create the zigzag look, but I don't want them to go up and down, right? So let's just take a look here in the perspective view. I'll press 5 here. So yep, that's the result that we have, but this is not exactly what we want. So I'm just going to press Ctrl Z to undo that, and instead of scaling it just from the center, that's the result that we get. I'm going to scale it just with these two axes. So I'm going to press 4 here just to see what's happening. Okay, so when I click on this green one, what it is going to do is it is going to scale in both x-axis and z-axis, but not in the y-axis. Okay, so it's not going to go up and down, but it would go just outside like that. Alright, so let's just press 5, and there you go. That's the result that we wanted. Looks perfect. Okay, so that's going to be the neck area. Okay, now if you want to smooth it out, let's say for example if I press 3, it would become like this. If you think that it is not enough, you want it to be more smoother or softer, then what we can do is we can actually we'll have to actually select all these edge loops again. I'm gonna press 4, and let's just double click on this one, double click on this one. I think probably, yep. Okay, so I'm just gonna double click on all these guys. Those are those ones that are inside and those ones that are outside. Okay, so all of them are going to be selected. We can actually use the front view. That's easier. So I'm just gonna double click on this, double click on this, double click on this, double click on this, all these guys. Okay, and we can actually leave the top and bottom. That's okay, because that's not going to be visible. So I can press the shift key and right click, and we can choose bevel edge. Okay, so what this is going to do is it is going to apply a bit more smoothness to all these edges. I think I forgot to select this one. Let me undo that step. Let me just press shift. Why is he not getting selected? Okay, there we go. So let's go back to bevel edge again. Okay, so we have a fraction value here, which is 0.5. Let's just reduce that a little bit, maybe 0.3 or 0.2, probably 0.35 or 0.4, doesn't matter. Okay, just try the value that is more suitable for you, and I can add just one segment here. Okay, 1 or 2 segments there. Now if I press 3, you can see that it becomes smooth, but at the same time it has a bit more defined detail. So depending on what kind of look you are looking for, what kind of look you want, you can actually change these things. All right, so if you think it's too thick, you can also scale it up a little bit just to make it like so. So whatever result that you are happy with, you are welcome to do that. All right, so let's just build the same thing for the leg. Now the leg is going to be a bit more taller, so we cannot duplicate the same exact shape, but you can, if you want, you can duplicate, extend it, make it longer, up to you. Right, so for the legs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another cylinder here. All right, let me just make this smaller. All right, that looks fine. I have to make it a bit smaller here as well. Let me just create it right in the center, and then finally I can just move this to the side. All right, so let's just move this over here. Maybe, I think it's still a bit more thick, just in these two axes. That looks perfect. All right, so let me just add some divisions here, just like how we did for the neck. Let's say height division is going to be 16. Maybe we'll give the same number, why not? All right, so double click on this one. We will leave one in the middle, and then double click on the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and so on and so forth. So if you have given an odd number, then you may not get the same exact count. So make sure that you give an even number, like 12, 16, 18, and things like that. All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna scale this out like so, just to get the exact shape that you wanted. And now, along with these, I'm actually going to add the other ones as well, just to create the bevel. So I'll just double click on this one, double click on this one, this one, this one. Just be careful exactly which one you're selecting, because making a wrong selection would end up with trouble. Alright, so let's go to bevel edge. There you go. Let's just minimize it a little bit. You see I accidentally selected one wrong edge there. So let me just undo that step. You can see there. So minus that. To remove and add, I'm actually pressing and holding a shift key. That's it. Alright. So again, here I have... Oh my god. Why am I making these mistakes? Anyways, bevel, I think that's perfect. Alright. So I think I'll just add a couple of divisions here. Make it bigger or smaller depending on what is the look that you want. That's fine. That's fine. All right. So that's the leg. Okay. So once one side leg is done, we can actually duplicate it to the other side. So we want to put it exactly in the same length from the for both these legs. So for doing that, I will have to move the pivot point of this object to the center. I'll press insert, and then press X key, and I can snap it there. Now, instead of pressing X key, you can also use the grid snap up here, so you can turn it on and then off later. Okay. Instead of pressing the D key, if you have a Windows PC, you can actually use the insert key as well. Mac doesn't have an insert key, so Mac users can use the D key. Alright, so once I moved it to the center, I can actually do a little cleanup here. I'll just go to modify, freeze transformations. So it freezes all the transformation. Go to edit, delete by type history. So it cleans up all the history, and our object looks good. Alright. Okay, so now I want to make a duplicate to the other side, so I can go to edit and choose duplicate special. Right, let's go to reset everything, and I want to mirror in the z-axis, I guess. So I'll give for scale in the z-axis -1. Okay, so that makes the copy to the other side. So the same process can be repeated in a different way. I'm just going to delete that and create it to you so that you will get an understanding of how I'm doing this duplicate. Okay, so I'll select the same object, go to edit, and choose the regular duplicate this time. Okay, so it made a duplicate, but it kept the object in the same place. Okay, so just by going to the z-axis and giving -1 instead of 1, what it's going to do is it has actually scale the object in x-axis to -1, just like this. Okay, so it's a little bit tricky just to put it exactly there, so that's why we use -1 as just a number so that it gets the exact copy to the other side. That's it. All right, so now for the hand, we can actually take the same thing, make a duplicate of that, pull it up. All right, and I'm just going to keep the pivot point in the same place. I'm going to use the rotation of the vertices. So I'm just going to rotate this whole thing. No. So I'm going to pull this up here. Oops. Make a duplicate and pull this up here, and I can rotate it 90 degrees, exactly 90, so we get it perfectly flat. But you can see that the hand needs to be a bit more longer, and at the same time it needs to be a bit more thinner as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to modify here and choose center pivot to bring the pivot point to the center. All right, and oops, it's -90. All right, so what I want to do is I want to make it a bit thinner, so I'll choose my scale tool here. Alright, and I'll make it thinner. That looks fine. But when it became thinner, it actually needs to be shorter as well. Alright, now I want to make a copy of this. I'll have one more extra object right there. Okay, so let's just keep this a little bit inside. All right, and I want to make a copy of this. Control D and pull this over. Okay, so we will need to just connect this guy here. I have one full set of faces that are extra, so I'll select all these faces, delete, select this guy, select all these faces and delete. All right, so now we're gonna bring these two things together. Okay, so I'll just bring this closer, just enough, or we can actually place them one on top of the other. All right, so now we want to combine them together, so I'll select both. Okay, select both, shift right click and choose combine. Where's that? Shift right click, and combine went too much down, so I'll go up here and press shift right click. All right, there it is, combine. You can also find the same combine tool right here in the tools menu as well. Now once I combine it, they become one single object, but at the same time they are still separated using these vertices. So if I just select one of these vertex, for example, you can see that it's not connected together, right? So for that, what I have to do is I will select all these vertices, okay, and shift right click and choose merge vertices. All right, so now they are together. So when I click on one of them and then move, you can see that it's actually pulling the other side as well. But we actually missed out one little thing. If you had done it rightly, no problem. I have not beveled this center area. So if you want, you can just leave it like this. This could be the middle area where it's connecting. But if you don't want, you can actually use the same value and add one or two segments. One segment, I guess. Maybe 0.3 should be fine. Yes. So now it looks perfectly fine. So that's one hand. Now if you think it's too small, maybe I can scale it out a little bit. All right. Great. Now all I have to do is just make a duplicate of the same to the other side as well. Let's go ahead and change its pivot point right to the center by using the D key. All right, and press D one more time to get rid of that. Let's just clean up the object. Let's go to modify, freeze transformations, edit, delete by type, history. That's it. And now I want to make the copy to the other side. I'll go to edit, duplicate special. There you go. Perfect. So let me just add a little bit of look to the hands, and for the legs, let me just push all these guys a little bit up. Oopsie daisy. Go to W, pull this up so that we get some space for the leg there and the hands. So for the hands, I'm just going to create a simple what is that? Pipe. Alright, so I'm taking a pipe, rotating it 90 degrees. Okay, so making it smaller. So let's make the radius small, and the thickness, I guess. Yes, thickness also smaller, 0.1 maybe. Yes, I just want to pull this up over here, place it like so. I think it's too big. Let me make the radius to be 0.2. 0.25 should be fine, I guess. Alright, and the height I think is good. Just make sure that it's touching here, and we don't need half of this, or a little less than half of it. So maybe I'll just delete all these. Maybe one more set. Alright, now let me select that, make it smaller just to fit the hand. I think it's too big. Let's just make the whole thing smaller. Let me see if I don't think I can make changes to that now, so I'll have to scale this whole thing. There you go. Okay, so let's just fill this hole. Double click on that, double click on that, and fill hole. Alright, so if I smooth this down, it will become something like this. If you're happy with this result, you can keep it, but if you want to add a little bit of bevel, you can do that as well. So I'm just going to double click on all these guys, including this front. Okay, so this is optional. If you want to do it, you can, otherwise you can just leave it as it is. So I'm just going to apply a little bevel here, keep the fraction low. Okay, just add one segment there. Alright, so that looks much better. Alright, so I'll just make the cleanup here, freeze transformation, edit, delete by type, history, and change its pivot point to the center by pressing D and then holding the X key for grid snap and then turning off the D. And now I can just go back to the duplicate special, so I get my hand on the other side. That's perfect. Okay, for the leg, I'm just going to create a simple cube. Right, so create a cube, make it small, just pull it up here like so, and I'm just going to push this down so that it's just barely touching there. This one is going to go front, this one is just going to be there, and just one simple extrude to the front. Alright, now when I extrude it, it might just want to go so much higher, so I'm just pushing it using the faces. Now this is going to be the left leg, so I'm just going to push the right a little bit front. Alright, and I can actually just extrude this guy a little bit up here. Okay, so when I smooth this, what should happen is it just goes to a spherical shape or round shape. I don't like that, so I just want to add one edge loop right in the bottom. Okay, so that should keep it a little bit flat in the bottom. That's fine. Looks good. Now if you want more divisions, more details, you can actually add more edge loops, probably right here. So select these two guys and push this over. Maybe this one, I can just bring it to the center and just to create a bit of rounded shape here. So let me just, this is purely optional. If you don't want, you can ignore it as well. Alright, so press 3 now. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so probably I'll just do a little bit of extrude here as well, just to keep that shape. Okay, so this is going to be the left leg. Okay, maybe a bit smaller as well. Oh, I think that's good. Maybe I can just push this whole thing up a little bit. It's totally up to you how you want the design to be. Okay. Alright, so I want to have the same leg as duplicate in the other side. So again, let's go to Modify, Freeze Transformation, Edit, Delete by Type, History. So to clean up everything. And then I want to bring the pivot point to the center by pressing the D key, and then bringing the pivot point to the center by holding the X key. So many keys to hold on. Alright, so let's just go ahead and make a duplicate to the other side by going to Edit, Duplicate Special. We already have the values keyed in, so yep, there you go. Alright, so if you think that the leg doesn't look more like robot leg, you can actually add more details as well, so that's totally up to you. Maybe I can just add a couple of edge loops here, so just push it up, maybe just make these guys go a little bit forward. So that's totally up to you, however you want the legs to look like. Okay, shoes to look like. So I'm just gonna keep that off here. Good. So I think it almost looks fine. Let's just add some detail to the head and the body. I'm just gonna select all these edges and give a bevel here just to round off the shape. All right, and let's keep the fraction a bit low. Alright, just add a couple of segments. That looks much better. Right, now we can add some looks to it just by adding some random shapes. If you want, you can also do a little bit of extrude here. So let's say I can select this middle one, do an extrude, pull this out, and extrude one more time. This time I'll make it a bit smaller, just to create some kind of an outline shape. Alright, but it's square. Yes, there you go. Okay, and one more extrude. This time I can just push this inside. So we created some kind of like a border kind of look, you see. Okay, so if you like it, you can keep it. If you don't, you can just undo and get back to creating whatever you want. Right, so let me just turn this wireframe on shaded on so that we can see exactly what's happening here. Right, the changes that we are making. Looks good. And if I smooth it out, this center may not look good. So what we can do is we can actually add more details. Let's say I can do one more extrude right for the center area. All right, and bring that over to the middle here. All right, and now just to make the edges look smooth, I'm just gonna double click on this one, double click on this one, and double click on this inside one, and also this outside 4 sides. And I can simply apply a bevel here. All right, and I will also need to add this middle ones here. So select this one, this one, this one. Oops, that's tricky to select. All right, let's select these, and these, and these, these, and finally these. Okay, so let's go ahead and apply a bevel here. Okay, that looks nice. I'll add 1 or 2 segments. Now let's go ahead and press 3 here, so you can see that you get that shape, right? So if I turn off this guy, you can see that we have something like a frame kind of look. Now you can add whatever other stuff that you want. Okay, so I'm just gonna create some primitive here. Let's say we have something called gear. All right, let me just rotate that 90 degrees. Okay, I'm gonna make the radius to be smaller. Let's say 0.3. That's too small. Still, I have to make it more smaller. Let me just, instead of changing that, I'll try to scale it first to a size that we can use. Then pull it over. Yep, something like that. I think I'll just reduce the number of gears probably. Height can also be smaller. Alright, and height divisions can be smaller as well. Okay, and let's say I want to have the radius to be 0.5, half of that, that looks good. And internal radius can be 0.2, and height is 0.2, so that's fine. Height baseline is fine. Gear spacing, yes, these are things that we can adjust. And let's say I'll just keep it like so. That looks good. So I can just create a couple of these guys. Maybe I'll reduce the number of gears. Yeah, here it is. How many sides I want. Okay, so I can just keep it like low. Something like 8 should be fine. And maybe a little, no, it should be smaller. I can just place him over here. I'll make a duplicate of that, and the duplicate can remain here. Okay, in a way that's going to just like connected stuff. Alright, and I can have one more shape, probably something like a prism, something that looks like a play button maybe. I'll scale it down, rotate it 90 degrees. Let's say minus 45 degrees, no, minus 30 degrees. Yeah, that looks good. This is just some fancifying stuff that I want to do. Let's go to the view here. Let's bring this back. Alright. I'll place it over here. And I just want to select all these edges and give a bevel again. Alright, so let's give more segments. There you go. That looks perfect. Alright, so next thing that we want to do is we want to do the same thing for the head. So again, I'll just select all these edges and we'll give a bevel. Okay, let's add a couple of segments here. That looks perfectly fine. And what we want to do is we want to add eyes, nose, and mouth. So for the eyes, I'm going to create another primitive here, which is going to be a pipe again. So I'll just rotate that 90 degrees. Make it smaller. Pull it up. Okay, so let's just bring it out, and we want to make it small like so. Okay, so let's see if I can make the radius to be 0.8. It should be fine. and the thickness is going to be 0.2, 0.3. Yeah. So let me just move this eye to one side, and it has to be inside a bit, like so. So again, I need to make a duplicate of this. For making the duplicate, I'm going to go through all these steps. So let's go to modify, freeze transformation, edit, delete by type history, and then we can change its pivot point by pressing the D key, by pressing X key, and pushing the center. All right, so let's just make a duplicate again. Edit, duplicate special, click on that, and you're done. All right, so again here we can smooth out this entire shape just by double clicking on all those things, and by going to bevel. This time I'll keep the fraction a bit like so. Let's say 0.2 or 0.3 should be fine, I guess, and adding a couple of segments so that it looks a bit more smoother than before. So I'll just delete this one and select that and duplicate special. There we go. Okay, so for the nose, I'm going to use a cube. Okay, you can use any other shape that you want if you like. Okay, so that's up to you. I'm just gonna use a cube. Pull this up all the way, bring this out. Okay, so make it smaller so it fits in there. And just to make things a bit more interesting, like a nose, I'm going to use my scale tool to make it like so. All right, and just these two, I can just push this backwards. Okay, just to get the look of a nose. And again, we can just apply bevel for all these edges. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so one last thing, that is our mouth. Again, for the mouth, we are also going to have a cube. Smaller. Push up. All right. And this will be a bit wider as well. Alright, so let's apply a bevel here, add some segments, maybe I'll make the fraction a bit less like so. 0.3 should be fine, I guess. Alright, so that's our robot. So that's it for this video, guys. See you in the next video. Until then, get subscribed and turn on the notification so that you will know when I post a new video. So happy learning, Maya. Take care and see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.